This young man is named Brandon Reisner, 21 years old. At this moment, he was standing next to his father and mother. His father was overwhelmed with tears, and they could do nothing but pray for him.
Rachel, Jeremy, if y'all can have a seat out here. Would you like to talk in private?
On a cold November morning in 2022, in the city of Rome, Georgia, police discovered a Toyota Prius abandoned in the middle of a small stream. The car was empty, with no one inside.
2022, a ditched Toyota Prius would be discovered by officers in Rome, Georgia.
And this is exactly what the police have not been able to understand until now. What is the mystery behind this abandoned car in the ditch? Why was it empty? Where did its owner go? And who is the perpetrator? The incident seemed strange from the very first moment. There were no signs of a collision or speeding, as if the person driving the car had been moving calmly until it reached the stream and fell in. One of the possibilities the police considered was that the driver might have forgotten to put the car in park P, which caused it to roll and fall into the water. What was suspicious, however, was that the lights were still on, but the car itself was no longer running when the police arrived. Later, a tow truck arrived to pull the car out of the stream. As soon as it was removed, the police were able to see the license plate and identify the owner. The car belonged to a young man named Aaron Davis, 21 years old. And since Rome is a small town, the police were already familiar with the name of the car's owner, so Lieutenant Slayers contacted Aaron's father directly. But to his surprise, the father was shocked and had no explanation for what he had just heard. His son's car was found abandoned in a stream, and he had no idea what had happened to him. However, the father gave the police an important piece of information. He said that Aaron had told him the night before that he was going to visit an old friend named Brandon Reisner. Aaron and Brandon had been friends since middle school, and their friendship continued through college. After graduating from Brigham Young University, Aaron decided to drive nearly 60 miles to visit Brandon and celebrate with him. But after going to Brandon's house, no one heard anything from him again, and his phone had been completely turned off. All these events led Aaron's father to report him missing, and the police immediately launched an investigation. The first logical step was to contact Brandon, as he was the last person seen with Aaron.
Hey, I'm Lieutenant Sailor's Rome Police. You doing all right today?
Yes, I am. I'm looking for my friend right now.
Yeah, that's what I was calling about. You hadn't heard from him?
I have not. I've tried calling him, and it's just gone straight to voicemail, and I heard he was at Heritage Park, so that's where I'm at right now, so I'm looking around. Do you guys know where the car was?
Yeah, it was in a ditch over there. When's the last time you saw Aaron?
The police informed Brandon that they had found Aaron's car in a small waterway and asked him about the last time he saw him. Brandon said he saw him the night before, where they were celebrating and drinking alcohol together until around midnight. He added that Aaron experienced sharp stomach pains due to excessive drinking and started vomiting. However, he did not ask for any help and left the house early in the morning. Since then, Brandon had not seen him. At first, Brandon's story seemed plausible, and he said he was worried and had been looking for Aaron himself. But the police were not satisfied with that and decided to go to Brandon's house to question him face to face.
Hey, what's going on? I'm Officer Gar with the Rome Police Department. We're following up on all this. Can you walk me through what's going on? Just make sure we're all on the same page.
We started drinking.
Upon their arrival, Brandon told them what he had said before, that they were celebrating, and that Aaron went to the bathroom due to a sudden illness. Brandon said he went upstairs to check on him, but Aaron reassured him and asked him to go back and let him rest. After that, Brandon took a shower and went to sleep, only to wake up sometime after 2 a.m. and find that Aaron's car was gone. Although his behavior seemed strange, his account did not show any direct evidence of a crime. However, the police were puzzled by Aaron's lack of response to phone calls or any sign of him anywhere. To be sure, the officers asked for permission to search the house, and Brandon agreed. During the search, the police noticed several locked doors, especially the door leading to the room where Aaron was supposed to be staying. They asked Brandon to show them the room. When the officers entered the room, they noticed a very strong smell of cleaning products. They found large quantities of cleaners, which was unusual. But the biggest surprise was the presence of many bloodstains beside the bed, with blood scattered all over the room. The officer remarked, "This is obvious blood, spread everywhere, and it looks like it's been here for a while." When they asked Brandon about it, he said that Aaron had vomited blood due to alcohol poisoning. However, one of the officers commented that people suffering from alcohol poisoning wouldn't be able to move easily in that state, especially in the early hours of the morning. The scattered blood, the amount of cleaning products, and the locked doors, all these things raised suspicion. Brandon felt that the police were starting to seriously suspect him. Then something unexpected happened.
Oh, my knees. Keep going. Hey, don't quit. Now. He jumped the fence, headed back towards Collinwood.
Brandon ran through the neighborhood, and the police began an intense search for him. They said he might be hiding in one of these houses, but they completely lost his trail, and he managed to escape. Due to the intense effort to find him, they started going door to door throughout the entire neighborhood, asking residents if they had seen him or knew where he had gone, but they found no clues. During the search, one of the neighbors told the officer that he was currently talking to Brandon's father, Jeremy. Indeed, the officer called him and immediately took the phone to speak with him, but it turned out that even Jeremy didn't know where his son was. It seemed no one knew anything about Brandon, who remained missing. While Jeremy was trying to help the police with the investigation, he returned home and found Brandon's phone. From that moment, everything changed. Until then, Jeremy had been fully cooperating with the police, but after finding the phone, he suddenly stopped cooperating and refused to hand over the phone to the police. This raised suspicions. Had he seen something on the phone? Or was he hiding something more dangerous? In fact, Jeremy was reluctant to give the phone until he fully understood the situation. As he said, "This is my son, and I don't want him to be convicted unless his guilt is proven." He didn't want to hand it over immediately and then regret it later. Hours passed with the police having no lead on Brandon's whereabouts, and what Jeremy saw on his son's phone remained a secret during that time. When the police contacted Jeremy again, he sounded hesitant and said, "My heart tells me to give you the phone, but at the same time, I don't know. Maybe we should find him first and then I'll give you the phone." The officer replied, "Let me be honest with you. We found a lot of blood in the upstairs room, and it was spread over the carpet. We appreciate your cooperation, as this will be in your best interest." But Jeremy seemed to be trying to protect his son. He insisted on not handing over the phone without a court order. Most likely, what was on the phone was indeed something frightening. The officer's intuition was correct, because the father eventually decided to cooperate and handed over the phone. When the police examined the phone, they found strange and unnatural notes written by Brandon, including, "His scream turned into a gurgle when he swallowed his tongue. I love the dark places where my mind melts. They told me I'm the smartest person in the world." They also found a strange to-do list Brandon wrote after Aaron's murder, including things like uploading songs to his YouTube channel, sweeping the house, and doing the laundry, as if nothing had happened. It became clear that Jeremy saw evidence that confirmed his son was the one who killed Aaron. Just 1 hour later, Jeremy called the police again and told them he was with Brandon, and that Brandon was ready to surrender. 15 minutes later, they arrived at the police station. The father was very emotional and began crying before handing over his son to the police, who immediately started investigating him. The officer asked, "Do you have anything in your pockets?" Brandon replied, "Just my wallet and keys." The officer asked again, "Anything else?" He answered, "No, nothing." Then he was asked to sit down, and the investigator began collecting his basic information, saying, "I will read you some rights before we begin. You have the right to remain silent, and the right to speak to a lawyer before we ask you any questions." Brandon chose to remain silent and requested a lawyer, which was the best decision in his situation because he knew that any word he said in the interrogation room could be used against him in court. Although the investigator wasn't pleased with this, the surprise was that Brandon's family was willing to talk, so the investigator decided to visit them. He sat down with the father, who frankly said, "I can show you where the body is and show you everything," referring to Aaron's body. The investigator asked, "Can you guide us to the location?" The father replied, "Yes, the body is in an old cemetery on the hill." This was the most important thing Jeremy said. But the investigator was smart and took the opportunity to learn more about Brandon's personal life before they went to search for the body. The father told him that Brandon suffered from anxiety attacks, psychological disorders, suicidal thoughts, and frequent hallucinations. They tried to help him with treatment and medication management, but his condition never improved. He added, "On the day of the crime, we received a call from Brandon around 9 or 10 in the morning. He said Aaron was experiencing stomach pain because of their excessive drinking. 2 hours later, Aaron's mother called asking about him, and I told her I didn't know. Then we learned that Brandon had fled from the house and from the police." From what his father said, it became clear that Brandon had been mentally ill since childhood and was diagnosed accordingly. His behavior might have been the result of his illness. Perhaps his father said all this to present him in court as mentally unstable, hoping to lessen his sentence. The police now knew the location of the body, so they went to the cemetery and found Aaron's body buried in a very remote spot, and under the same blanket that Aaron used to sleep with at Brandon's house, which confirmed to the police that Brandon was indeed the killer. The police immediately arrested him on charges of murdering Aaron Davis and took him to jail. But his strange behavior puzzled everyone. The officers said he was calm and eerily cold, as if it didn't affect him at all. Despite the arrest, the police faced a difficult task, informing Aaron's family of his murder. Their reaction was tragic. Aaron was a recent university graduate, a kind young man with a promising future. His sudden death was a brutal and senseless crime. You might wonder, what was the motive? The truth is, no clear motive was mentioned in the sources, except that Brandon suffered from mental disorders. Because of this, justice had to take its course, so Aaron's family could have their rightful closure. On July 18, 2024, the long-awaited trial began. Brandon had no real defense. Even when he tried to justify his actions by claiming he was not in his right mind, the court rejected this excuse and sentenced him to life imprisonment without parole. This came after his full confession to the murder and mutilation of Aaron Davis. And with that, our story ends. What do you think? Do you believe that Brandon's mental illness justifies what he did? And do you think a life sentence was enough? Share your thoughts in the comments. This case still raises tough questions about justice, mental illness, and the limits of responsibility.